You're listening to the Ink and Paint Girls podcast, where we celebrate women working in animation, illustration, and comics, and explore female representation behind the scenes and on the screen. Julia Vickerman is a director, storyboard artist, and the creator of the Cartoon Network pilot 12 Forever. You have seen her work all over Cartoon Network on shows like the new Powerpuff Girls and Clarence. Listen in as we discuss developing her pilot, faking it until you make it, and how to mine your life experience to breathe more life into your storytelling. Basically, the unofficial title of this episode is How to Be a Creative Powerhouse 101. Julia, thank you for coming on the show. It's so exciting to have you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Of course. Can you give us a brief introduction to you and what you do? Just kind of like a summary.
Yeah, I'm a writer, director, storyboard artist, guy. I moved out to LA in 2007, and I've just been working on like a plethora of different things since then. I guess most notably, I created the short 12 Forever for Cartoon Network, and I'm currently working as a director on Clarence.
Very awesome.
Also at Cartoon Network. So that's what I've been doing lately.
Very nice. And we'll get into the details of all of that. But let's go all the way back. Like, where are you from?
I'm from Greenville, South Carolina, initially, and I always have wanted to work in animation since I was a very young kid, or at least wanted to work in comics initially, and it kind of turned into animation when I was about 12 or 13, after my brother got me, like, obsessed with Sailor Moon. So, ever since then, it's kind of been all I've wanted to do. So, that was my focus. And then I went to art school at the Minneapolis College of Art and Design. So, I moved out to Minneapolis for a while. After I graduated, I began working for Puny, which is an animation studio that was started in Minneapolis, and they now have a Los Angeles location as well. And one of our first big projects, or my first big project that I worked at with Puny, was doing a music video for Gabba, which was a preschool show on Nick Jr. at the time. So we did this music video, and then Gabba contacted us, and they were like, that was one of our favorite music videos from the season. Like, do you guys have anyone living in LA? Because our in-house animator is leaving, and we need someone to replace them. And I was like, oh, I'll move to LA. So I moved to LA basically to work on Gabba and start the Puny LA office, essentially. And we kind of did various work too, but Gabba was like one of the bigger clients, you know. So I worked on that show for the 4 seasons that it was on. Started as just doing flash animation for them, and then started doing storyboards for the show, for the live action portions of the show. And then by season 4, got the opportunity to write and direct an episode with the co-creator Scott Schultz. So I did the Mermaids episode, if anyone's seen that, if you have a young child. And I was the animation supervisor on season 4 as well. So
that's an amazing growth. Was it like 4 years that took from?
It took a little bit longer than 4 years, because like sometimes we would have like a year and a half between seasons on Gabba. So I would work on other things during that downtime. Yeah, it was an interesting experience, because a lot of people on Gabba had never worked in television before, or like had only done very little TV, and so they were really open to giving people more opportunities like that, like branching out and wearing different hats in the production, and I was very fortunate to have gotten the opportunity to do those things.
It's really cool that they did the animation here in the U.S. too.
Yeah, Puny did all the flash animation, and then we would have guest animators from all over the world participate in like the story time segments and the music video segments. So that was another thing that was really cool about being the animation supervisor season 4, was getting to reach out to like artists and animators who I deeply admired, and also people who I just followed on Tumblr who I had never worked professionally before. And I was just like, here, we're going to give you a 4-minute segment to animate, and we're going to pay you like $25. Because it was, a relatively low budget show, but that gave us a lot of creative freedom.
Nice.
So it was a pretty amazing experience.
Yeah. Having been on both sides of the coin where you're being asked to work for free, but also, getting paid for your work, being a professional and offering those animators like, $25 or however much. I'm sure that was a little
bit more than $25.
That's good. But what's your opinion on working for free, I guess?
I think that if you're going to work for very little money, the trade-off has to be freedom. Creative freedom. And that was definitely what we offered people on Yo Gabba Gabba. It's like we gave very little notes. It was like, you do a music video was, the direction. It was like, here, maybe there'd be a theme, like this is going to be in the Halloween episode, but it was never like, this one's going to be about a little pig that needs to find its shoes, but you know what I mean? Or something like that. It was open-ended. So it was really, these artists could do basically whatever they wanted as long as it was, preschool appropriate. But that's a huge amount of freedom for something that's going to be internationally distributed.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
So that it was exciting. People were more often very excited rather than like, what? You're only giving me, a couple $1,000 or whatever? Because it was just like, it was such a nice family to be included in.
Totally.
But no, if it's something where you have just very specific direction and you're like, it can only be this, and like you're just a hired hand, then no, it's just not super awesome to be offered such little money. But also when you're first starting out, it's just like you take what you can get. And like I graduating college, I was just the first job I was doing at Puny was animating Flash games for CartoonNetwork.com. In like the era of like my gym partner's a monkey and Class of 3000 and Squirrel Boy. It was like that period of Cartoon Network, and I just remembered animating like Andre 3000's character and being like, this is the coolest job I'm ever gonna have. At that time, it was just like I just felt so grateful and fortunate, and I think those are the qualities I respond to the most in like young people just getting into the industry. Is just be grateful that you are even getting paid to do this stuff, But yeah, once you start climbing the ladder and whatnot, it's it's easier to get a little bit more cynical and jaded about stuff. But if you're young, just gratitude.
I really admire people who can keep their enthusiasm going through it.
Oh yeah.
There's days where people lose it, but
like it's so important to remain optimistic and grateful because you are making shows for children, and it's like these are things that they're hopefully going to latch onto and grow up continually thinking about and remembering. And like I don't know, I have a really hard time when you meet people in this industry who are extremely cynical and bitter about it, because it's just like, oh, that really sucks if that's somehow like seeping its way into your like stories that you're telling to kids,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's always nice to have a grateful perspective on this.
Definitely. Since you did have a job like 2 days after graduation, I don't know if you had any like dark moments of panic like before graduation.
Oh, I think a lot of my entire college experience was a dark moment of panic. Like it was during a period where like CG animation, people were saying like traditional animation is dead and that's not going to happen anymore. There are never going to be traditionally animated films anymore. CG is the only thing that's going to be happening for the rest of time, which is just a ridiculous thing to say. But and I didn't want to work in 3D in college, and because I was just like, I love drawing, that's what I want to do. And but no, they were just telling us all the time how difficult it is to find a steady work in animation. Like it's all freelance and you're just going to be constantly searching. You'll have a job for like 2 months, then it'll be over and blah, blah, blah. So they were just like, you really should have like backup plans and stuff. So it was just, all of us were kind of like freaking out of like, oh my God, is this true? And then like, I've been really fortunate that that hasn't been true for me personally, but I think a lot of that is just because like, I don't know, I like to think it's because I work really hard. But yeah, college was like just kind of a dark period because I moved to Minneapolis and I had a kind of hard time making friends initially, and I didn't, I don't know, like I had a really hard time dealing with the weather change. So it's very, very cold in Minneapolis, and I would get pretty bad seasonal depression. But that being said, I all you could do was be shut inside and work really hard because you can't go outdoors or you freeze to death. So I guess I'm happy for that. There weren't a lot of distractions.
Yeah. Well, Do you regularly deal with depression, or was it just a seasonal depression?
No, I think I pretty much regularly deal with depression. It runs in my family, and it's something that I deal with. I go to therapy and whatnot, which is important for me. I just think it's extremely helpful to get some perspective on your like behavioral patterns from people who study those things. So it's very helpful for me. I think everyone should go to therapy.
They should take the stigma away.
Yeah,
like, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I mean, so many of my friends go to therapy that I guess I'm in this bubble of like, what stigma? You know? But,
so do you have any tips for like continuing to stay productive when you do like kind of like dig yourself a hole to just kind of like stay in and be depressed?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely gone through rough periods where it's like, you don't really want to do anything. And for me, kind of a good way to get out of those periods is starting a new hobby or like learning something new. Like the last period of depression I went through a few months ago, I taught myself. I didn't want to draw. I wasn't in the mood to storyboard or do, because I was just like, that's what I do for work every day. I need a break from that. I need to exercise some other muscles in my brain. So I was like, I want to learn how to needle felt. So it's like, so I learned that, and then I just was making little needle felt creatures, and I was like, this is a creative activity that's not like taking me towards a long-term goal of like being a director or a showrunner or the things that I want to do, but it's gratifying in a completely different way. And it's like scratching that creative itch, you know, and you make little adorable things to give to your friends. So then you get to feel like that little bit of generosity and all that. So yeah, I guess for me, it's trying something new takes me out of it, or like going to like do archery or go rock climbing or something that has a certain amount of novelty to it that takes you out of your everyday comfort zone and reminds you that like there's a whole nother world that you haven't been exposing yourself to. I don't know, can make you happy in different ways that just working in animation doesn't, you know?
Mm-hmm. For sure. I hope that didn't come off careless, because, I mean, I have depression too. So I was, like, personally asking.
Not at all.
I'll keep it in because I think it'll help a lot of people.
Yeah, no, I'm all for talking about depression in a completely open, destigmatized way. I mean, it's something that so many people struggle with. It's like, I'm not going to treat it like there's anything wrong with it, because I don't think there is. So, yeah, it's just a reality.
Yeah, I feel like it touches a lot of people in the industry too, just because of the fear of like the job nature and everything.
Absolutely.
Even when you have a job, you're like,
Yeah, I mean, it's an anxiety-inducing place to be, that's for sure. And it's a lot of very, you know, creative, very sensitive people. So yeah, a lot of people do struggle with depression, and I think it's really helpful for people to know that they are anything but alone.
Going back to the job nature, like it seems like you've been really successful in, you know, continuing to work constantly. Like, what was the biggest lesson you learned in your hustle to find work?
I think something that I've struggled with is being able to say no to things that I didn't really want to do, and all like, especially like when you're already very busy, and then you receive a smaller project or something on the side where someone's like, oh, this will only take you like a week, and you're like, yeah, I could probably do that, and then I end up getting into these spots where I really overload myself with work, and I experienced like a really bad burnout like on the tail end of working on Powerpuff Girls, where I just couldn't handle it anymore. I was just like waking up and I just didn't even want to like talk to anyone. It was, you know, all you want to do is like lie in bed, typical, like you're just like, I'm done. I need to just take like 3 months away and not do anything having to do with animation, just for a little bit, just have a moment to like breathe. Because I was working at a certain point, you know, I was working, you know, like 15, 16-hour days, and it was, when you do that for months, you're gonna burn out at some point. Well, you're like, you know, your personal relationships are gonna suffer, and if you're just constantly saying no to everyone in order to do these jobs, some of which are not even that important or valuable to you, you just have a hard time saying no. And so it's just really important to like be mindful of what you're putting your time into, you know, because sometimes it is more important to go to your friend's birthday party than it is to like do some freelance job that isn't going to make you happy even when it's done, you know, even if it does like pay you money. It's like maybe that time would have been better spent like being a good friend. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, how do you like manage, like time manage? Or is this like a current struggle where you're like trying to say no to things?
Oh, no, I think I've gotten much better at it nowadays.
That's good.
Just because I now know how that felt, and I was just like, I can't ever let that happen again. So it's like now I kind of know that I can do like 2 things at once, but I can't do 3 things at once. You know what I mean? Time management, I mean, yeah, that is a daily struggle. I love making lists. I love making like really exact schedules of what I'm going to do every day. I'm real big on that. Yeah, that's a really good question.